has preparations been since the final whistle from Scotland?
You want me to go? You want to go?
I can take it.
Good.
I think it's been good. I think we obviously took a lot of learnings from the Scotland game and progressed that into our next game. And I think we've had some positive vibes. We played some good football against Scotland, and unfortunately we didn't get that goal that we're after. But I think it showed what we can do and also what we've got left to do as well.
Tony?
Yeah, Meeks is spot on with the summary there. We downloaded the game and also we talked a little bit about tournament football, because this is all about the bigger picture and what we can take away from the World Cup. So we looked at some scenarios in a game. A game is ebb and flow, right? It's like a roller coaster, and the teams that win games is the ones that can, when you're down low in a game and the opposition have momentum, can you make sure you don't get too low for too long, because then you will concede a goal at one point. So can you find solutions to get out of that funk? Like we had that period in the 30th minute in the first half that we couldn't really get out. We talked about that, tools to get out of that, because I think there will be periods against England that's going to be similar. But we also talked about when we had the momentum, when we were good, what were we doing? Can we do that more? Like that period, for example, from minute 3 to 30 in the second half, we were completely dominant in everything we did, and the football we played, the movements, the combination play, the chances we created, that's the type of football that we're about. That's how fast we can play. But unfortunately, the conversion wasn't there, and at the end of the day, games are won and lost in the 18, and that's where we lost that game against Scotland. So we learned a lot.
Take questions from the floor. Ali?
Hi there. I mean, you've not played the Lionesses since 2018. I just wanted to ask you both what you've made of the evolution of the Lionesses in that time.
Well, I think everyone that have followed them as of late can agree that right now it is the team in the world to beat. It's the number one team in form. 30 games unbeaten streak. You look at the football they play as well. They play modern football where it's high intensity, extremely high tempo in everything they do. Their pressing game is fantastic and their ball movement is brilliant. And not only have they had these 30 games unbeaten streak against low-ranked opposition, they have played the top-ranked team in the world with the US, they played the second-ranked team in the world, they played the third-ranked team in the world, and still they have these performances and these results. So it's going to be one of the toughest challenges that we have faced as a team. And we do it away in England, which makes it even tougher. And then we do it with some circumstances that were out of our control. We wish we could, measure ourselves against them with ourselves being in form and have all players available. But we have about 8 to 10 players unavailable going into this game, which makes it an even tougher challenge. What we have looked at, though, is we have played against some of these players. Even if we haven't played the Lionesses, we have played against some of these players. The majority that is in the starting lineup played against us in Olympics. And we have actually looked at some sequences from that game as well and see what did we do well in that game to have that impressive performance that the player put out to actually win that game against them.
You mentioned it there, but that's one thing I wanted to ask you about having played in the WSL. You know a lot of these girls, you've all played alongside each other. How does that help, and does it help having that experience when you play in the league?
I think Meeks talked to her teammates a lot about that, so she can answer that one.
I think it's an example of that we have players in the best leagues around the world, and we are sort of matching up with players from the Lionesses week in, week out. And if you follow any of the football, you'll see Aussies on the score sheet or Aussies sort of keeping clean sheets and saving pens. So I think we're doing that in the top leagues around the world, and I think that is sort of shows where we are as a team and what the capability we have to put out on the field and come up against a good team like the Lionesses. So I think, playing against them does work in our favour, but it also shows just how competitive we are.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about the squad that Serena has to choose from, because we've been hearing from Steph Houghton this week about her fight to get back into the squad. But I suppose, what does it tell you that someone like Steph is what, 6th, 7th, 8th choice for her position? What do you make of the options that Serena has?
Well, I think any national team want to have depth, right? And many players available, and the competition is extreme. And I guess Serena, like me at times, have to make a lot of tough decisions because there's not room for all the great players. So if you put maybe 3 lineups up there, you have A, B, or C. I think even the lineup B and C, so to speak, I don't want to sound disrespectful when I say B and C, but if you look at the depth shot is what I mean, like a depth shot. I think even the second and the third lineup can compete against the best teams in the world. That's the depth they have right now. And the other thing they have is, I needed to bring some stats. They have 25 of the players that was brought into the roster now playing in top clubs in top leagues. 100% of the players play in top clubs and top leagues. You have 22 of them playing in the same country, in England. A lot of them plays in the same club. If you look at statistics over the last couple of decades, both on men and women's side, you can see that that's a success factor. They also have a lot of players available, even though they have some niggles now. And then the other thing they are starting and play regularly. So all the players that play as starter and play week in and week out. So they're also in match form, which also shows when they play as a national team.
Just finally from me, if that's okay. I mean, you touched on it there that maybe things aren't ideal with 8 to 10 people being out, whatever. But having just seen England get a win over Brazil at Wembley, what's the key to taking them on tomorrow, given that they're going to be feeling pretty confident, I think it'd be fair to say?
Yeah, very confident. I think the number one thing for us, we spoke about it yesterday, spoke about it today. Even if we have a lot of players unavailable, like even before the camp, there's too many to keep track of. So I even have a list on that. Like Alana, Steph, Chloe, KK, Gilnick, Kaya, Caitlin Ford, they weren't not even available before the camp starts. And then unavailable players also because of load and niggles. Eva had to leave camp. Holly McNamara had to leave camp. Sam wasn't available for the first game. We had two knocks in training yesterday, so I have 2 other question marks now for the lineup for tomorrow. But what we said is no matter who steps on the field, we need to stay true and loyal to our identity and test ourselves. Even though we might be down the depth chart, we need to see where are we with our identity and our playing style. We're still going to try to press as aggressive as we always do, but we know it's going to be a huge challenge against the Lionesses that move the ball good. We also say we're going to play our attacking game. We're not coming here to just try to keep the score down and say, let's try to survive this game. That's not what we're about. But it might cost us. It might be a high scoring game, but we're going to be true to who we are. But our pressing game is going to be challenged big time.
Will we see Sam?
I can't say that now. I keep it like a World Cup, who's available and not. So I'll keep that close to my chest for tomorrow.
That's okay. I had to ask.
Of course, it's your job. Good question.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We'll go to online and start with Samantha Lewis from ABC.
Thanks, Anne. Hi, Tony. There's been some discussion back here in Australia about the role of the centre forward. The absence of Sam Kerr was obviously quite glaring against Scotland. You've mentioned in the past trying to find a different profile of striker when Sam is unavailable. Can you expand on what that profile is and why it's necessary?
I think hopefully Sam is available most of the minutes, most of the game in a World Cup. When she's not there, it depends on what type of game and what is the score when we need another type of forward on the field. So over the past 2 years, we've looked at a couple of different options. We know that Mary Fowler can play a false 9, a linking 9. We lose some threats behind the back line when she plays there, but we have a linking 9, so that's an option. We have looked at Caitlin Ford, and we've seen what she's done in Arsenal, where she plays centre forward as well. She's not available now. And then we looked at Courtney Vine when Sam was not available against South Africa. If we want to have a speedy 9 that runs in behind, that have tremendous amount of speed to get in behind an opposition's back line. We know we have both Emily Gilnick and Kaya Simon, who historically have played as a 9 up there. We have also looked at some young players. We looked at Remy Simpson over the past 2 years. We've also looked at Holly McNamara, who could be an option in that 9 position. And then this last game, we also looked at Larissa Crummer. And you hear it's a lot of players. There's limited time as a national team. I wish I could do more minutes for more players and test them for more minutes. But I also need to take these games to get answers because it's about the bigger picture. And if you go to the last game, why Larissa played, it's because she is one of our best pressing forwards. And sometimes if we're winning, for example, we also need to have a pressing forward that can offload minutes for Sam and come in and kind of kill the game for us. If we're up 1-0, 2-0 and we need one of the best pressing forwards in the world, Larissa is one of those. So it's different tools and different game. And you know how much I talk about game changers. So we need to have different game changers from the bench in the World Cup. And some players are competing for a starting spot in the World Cup roster. Some players are competing for a game changer. So that summarized kind of the 2 years of experimentation and looking at different options in the 9 when Sam is not playing.
Follow up, Sam?
Great, thank you. Yeah, sort of a similar question, I suppose, for the midfield as well. Towards the back end of that Scotland game, we saw that both Katrina Gorry and Kyra Cooney-Cross seemed to run out of legs a little bit. Are you expecting to try and experiment a little bit more with midfield combinations against England, considering it seems like Gorry and Cooney-Cross are sort of the locked-in pair down the base of midfield? Are we going to see some different trial and errors against England?
This is the difficult balance. We always speak about this as a team, you know, when do we work on consistency and continuity to get the nuances together and prepare for the World Cup, and when do we look at the depth and rotations and look at different experimentation might be the wrong word, but look at the depth on the roster, and you want to do both as a national team coach. But I don't want to reveal too much now, but what I can say, it's when you do this, there's always a long-term plan, and you look at when are players available for different games in different camps. And one of the reasons why we play a lot of minutes with Minnie and Kyra now is that they play in the Swedish leagues, which means they are going to have minimum preparation time in the lead into the World Cup on the training ground and some closed-door games and such. So you always look at, from the outside, you might just look at one camp and one game and say, why didn't they try that? Why didn't they do that? But for us, it's always been a bigger picture and a 2-year plan. And then you look at player availability and when you need to do what. And that's the balance. I wish I could do both, but sometimes I can't.
Final question, Sam?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next we go to Ian Chadband from AAP.
Oh, hello there, Tony. You've talked about the journey, and obviously the culmination of that journey is going to be in a couple of months' time, not now. But as it stands, if you were to beat the Lionesses and win on their 30-match win streak, would that be by some distance your finest achievement so far as Matilda's boss?
I guess you asked the questions with going into this game of where are they and where are we, and when you say it that way, maybe it would be one of the biggest achievements from the players in terms of overachieving. If I put that into the perspective that you are asking the question with, which I think it's interesting, and you look at it always when you go into a game, you look at a game within the games, meaning where are the 1v1s in the game? Like here's one game within the game. And if you take our last lineup against their last lineup, in the goalkeeper, it's West Ham against Man United. If you look at our centre backs, it's Vittsjö and Western Wonders against Man United. If you look at our left back, it's Vittsjö against Chelsea. If you look at our right side with our right back, it's Lyon versus Man City. If you look at our centre midfield from that last game, it's Hammarby and Vittsjö against Bayern Munich and Man United. You look at our 10, it's City versus Barcelona. And then you look at our right side, it's Man City versus Chelsea. You look at our left side, it's Sydney FC versus Barcelona. And then you look at our 9 that played for Bram against Arsenal and City. So I guess that answers your questions. If you look at that, yes, it would be a massive achievement. But I also know what lives inside this team. You know, the DNA of the never say die attitude in the Matildas way before I came. And we're going to bring that tomorrow. And we're going to show that we're going to be in your face. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to press. And we're going to try to be who we are. And we're going to try to beat England our way. And if we don't, and if we cuff some goals, we're going to learn a lot of where we are in the process of playing the way we play. We're not going to shy away from this challenge. It's the toughest challenge maybe ever, or since I came on board, but we're not going to shy away from it. I know these players won't. That's who they are.
Follow up, Ian?
So you're daring to dare. You'll dare to go for it, and you might suffer for it.
I think Meeks can answer that. Who are we and how do you want to play the game?
Yeah, I think with the environment that we have now, if we do have players out, we know that we have other players come in that match their intensity and match their enthusiasm. And I think, as Tony said, we play our best football when we're on the front foot and we're pressing high and playing aggressively. So I think that is always going to be in our game no matter what, and we'll definitely be bringing that tomorrow.
Thanks, Ian. Followed by Nathan.
So in the Scotland game, you had Ellie Parker back. I was just wondering what you made of her performances since she's come back from injury for Lyon and against Scotland, and how important it is to have her experience back in the team and the squad ahead of the World Cup?
Was that Ellie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think everyone around this team was extremely happy to see her back. She brings so much on the field and off the field. Her energy as a person, her energy as a player, her quality as a person, her quality as a player. You could even see in that period when we were playing phenomenal football in the first half of the second half. Ellie was involved in everything. Just look at that combination play when Mary was in and how fast we play when we break lines and we combine. Like, that's just world class. You also have some one-on-one situations defensively when she was really challenged in that Scotland game, when she proves to be a really, really good one-on-one defender as well. But we also need to be looking at the big picture. We subbed her out not because she's not ready to play 90 minutes, but it's the accumulated load that we need to be responsible for and look at a bigger picture. We're down 1-0 against Scotland and I take Ellie Carpenter off the field. That wouldn't happen in a World Cup, of course, but we need to look at a bigger picture here to protect Ellie coming back in the way she needs to come back. But I know she's over the moon excited to play against the Lionesses here tomorrow.
Final question for you, Nathan.
And just one more. You spoke about having England under 22 players playing in England, and you listed up a range of clubs Australia played for. Does that make a difference when they all play in the same league, or the majority play in the same league when they come back for international football? What do you think?
I do think it makes a difference, but what you want as a national team, you can look at it both on the men's and the women's side. There's some very clear research and reports out there where player availability is number one for success. Having players available to play, meaning not injured. That's number one. 2, have them fit and firing in form, and that means they need game time in clubs. That's number 2. Number 3, have them play in top clubs in top leagues. The higher up the player plays, the more success a national team have. That's a simple equation. And then the 4th one is have a lot of players playing together in clubs so that you get cohesion and consistency. Give you an example, Steph Caplan and Caitlin Ford, for example. Having 2 players like that in the same club is massive, so they can bring that chemistry into the field. But what this team has that is unique, even if you don't play in the same clubs, they have played together in this team for so long and they know each other so well in and out. You know, so that makes it easy for them, not easy, but easier, because there is a chemistry there way back. We talk a decade back when these players love, it's like a family. They love each other so much on and off the field, and they understand each other so much. And now during these 2 years, introducing those new players as well have taken some time, but now they're also up to speed in how we play. So if we replace a player, we can still keep the identity and the connection on the field.
Thanks very much, Nathan. Final question to Liana.
One for you, Meeks. So obviously we've got a lot of injuries to many key players at the moment. We're about to play a team who are on a 30-game unbeaten run. There's a lot of underestimation and noise around the Chillies at the moment. What's that like for the team? Does it act as motivation?
I think we've always in the past shown that when we are the underdogs, we do step up and we can perform, and I think that's just what we're looking to do. This game, I think it's a challenge, and it's a challenge that we're excited for. I think no matter what team we put out, we have the football in mind that we want to play, and that's our focus. So I think, everyone's pretty excited for the challenge tomorrow.